Let's be honest, dealing with the electric company in Pakistan can feel, well, a little complicated. But what if I told you there's an official rulebook, a manual written specifically to protect you, the consumer? Today, we're going to crack that book open and uncover the rights you have that you might not even know about. Let's dive in.
Have you ever stared at a bill that just doesn't make sense? Or maybe worried about a sudden disconnection and just felt totally powerless? It's a really common feeling, for sure. But the truth is, you actually have way more rights than you probably think.
So here's our game plan. We're going to follow the consumer's journey step by step. First, we'll get to know the rulebook itself. Then, we'll walk through getting a new connection, tackle those tricky topics of bills and disconnection, figure out what to do when you think your meter is wrong, and we'll wrap it all up by summarizing your most important rights.
All right, first things first. What exactly is this rulebook that's supposed to have your back? Let's break down the Consumer Service Manual. So this isn't just some dusty old guide with friendly suggestions. It's the Consumer Service Manual, or CSM. It's an official, legally binding document approved by NEPRA. That's the national regulator. It basically sets all the rules of engagement between you and your local power company, which you'll see called a DISCO. You can think of it as the constitution for your electricity service.
So, why does this manual even exist? Well, the whole point is to level the playing field. It's there to make sure the system is fair, transparent, and reliable for everyone. It lays out clear procedures for everything, from getting hooked up to handling complaints, making sure there's a real balance of power between you and the company.
Okay, that's the theory. But how does this actually work in the real world? Let's take the very first step anyone takes, getting a new electricity connection. The manual lays out a surprisingly clear path.
You might think it's going to be complicated, but it's really designed to be straightforward. It's broken down into 4 key stages. First, you submit your application with all your papers. Then the company gives you what's called a demand notice for the fees. You just pay that at the bank, and boom, your connection gets installed. No hidden steps, no surprises. Now, to keep things running smoothly, you'll need the usual stuff like proof of ownership and your CNIC. But listen, pay close attention to these next 2. You'll also need a legal affidavit saying there are no old unpaid bills tied to the property. And really important, a wiring test report from a certified contractor to prove that everything's safe and up to code. All right, let's talk about something that causes a whole lot of stress: bills, and the threat of getting disconnected. This is where knowing the manual is absolutely crucial, because it sets out very specific rules to protect you from any nasty surprises. Okay, here's a huge point that a lot of people miss. Your power can't just be cut off because you missed a single bill. The rules are crystal clear. If you miss one payment, that amount just gets added to your next bill. It's that second bill that acts as the official final warning, and that's when a countdown clock actually starts ticking.
And the magic number you need to remember here is 7. The rulebook guarantees you 7 clear days of notice starting from the date of that second bill, before your service can be disconnected for non-payment. This isn't just them being nice. It's a critical protection baked into the system that gives you a window to get things sorted.
But what if you're paying on time every time, but you're convinced the bill is just wrong? You think the meter itself is the problem. This is a massive source of frustration for so many people, but the good news is there's an official process to challenge it. You have the right to formally challenge your meter's accuracy. You put in a request and pay a small challenge fee, but here's the most important part: the step that guarantees fairness. The power company is required to test that meter in your presence within 7 working days. That transparency is built right in, and, of course, if they find a fault, your bill gets adjusted. So what happens after the test? Well, it's a pretty balanced system. If it turns out your meter was running fast, they have to replace it at their own cost, and you get a credit for being overbilled on up to 2 of your previous bills. Now, if it was running slow, they also replace it at their cost, but you will be charged for the electricity you used but didn't pay for, again for up to 2 months. It's designed to be fair both ways. So after going through all these different procedures, let's pull it all together. Once you understand this manual, you start to realize that the power, quite literally, is in your hands. So let's recap your key rights, your personal shield. You have the right to a clear, step-by-step process for a new connection. You have the right to that 7-day warning before disconnection. You have the absolute right to challenge your meter and see the test happen with your own eyes. You have the right to get your bill adjusted if that meter is wrong. And you have the right to be charged based on the official published tariff, nothing more. Remember, these aren't favors. They are your guaranteed rights. You see, just knowing the rules of the game changes everything. It transforms you from someone who just pays a bill into an informed, empowered consumer who can stand up for fair treatment. So the real question isn't what the rules are,
It's this: now that you know them, how are you going to use this knowledge?